Hey gamer, I actually went outside for once, I know, surprising, and I just happened upon a place that looks a lot like our place. But anyways, that reminded me about my favorite game, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch, and I really want to talk about it. So let's get back inside and talk about it.
Now that was stressful, but let's talk about Xenoblade Chronicles for a minute. Now, this is not the first time that Xenoblade Chronicles has actually been released. The first time it was released was back in 2012 when the Wii, which that story is a whole other video in and of itself, but it also got released on the new Nintendo 3DS back in 2015. However, the game that we're going to be talking about today is the definitive edition of the game for the Switch. Now, I've played a lot of other RPGs in my time on the Switch, like Octopath Traveler, The World Ends With You, and even the sequel, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But actually, I haven't played the original game. I haven't even really heard much of the story besides for a samurai, if you know what I mean. But I wanted to know about this game. So, how is it? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Strap in, and hey, consider subscribing if you enjoy. Let's do this. Now, if you follow my Twitter, you might recall that I posted about getting this game back in December of 2020. So why am I making a video about it in April of 2022? Well, it's a long story, but long story short, basically I put it on the backlog for an entire year. And then I made a commitment to myself because I wanted to play this game, but I just really didn't know how I was going to get back into it. So I decided that if Xenoblade 3 was announced in the Nintendo Direct or any other way, officially, I would go back and beat this game. Now, in February of 2022, we all know what happened. Breath of the Wild 2 fans got cucked, and Xenoblade 3 fans were eating. So I decided that in March I will start to play the game through, and boy, was it a great experience. But what made the game so great is, well, a couple of things. Now, one thing that made Xenoblade 1 really pop out for me was the characters. Now, I read in an article somewhere that originally Shulk was not supposed to be a character that talked, but it was eventually shot down, and probably for good measure too, because all the characters really pop out with all their different voice actors really doing a great job on their role. The game would not be as good as it was if it wasn't for the voice actors, so I'd like to give just a personal shout out to them because they really make the game great. My personal favorite character was probably Fiora. I'm gonna be real. If you know what I mean when she's in and out of the story, but she's overall just a really good character and really developed well. Like all the other characters in the game, and I can see they also do this in Xenoblade 2 as well, even though Rex gets a lot of flack for not being Shulk for some reason. But overall, I just think the characters are really good, and that's one of the main reasons why Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and just Xenoblade Chronicles 1 in general, is such a good game. Now, the game has a really good story as well. And unfortunately, at the time of this review, or video rather, I didn't have time to play Future Connected. But the main game's overall story is just really good in general. It's about a 30-hour experience, and the only real downside to it is that there's just sometimes like where you go for 2 hours and there's like no cutscenes. And I get it's a video game, but I wish they would like pepper a cutscene in there, maybe like one time. But I get it. Overall, it's still a very solid story. I would even say better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2 story, even though I still hold a lot of nostalgia for that game. I compare it to something like The World Ends With You. The World Ends With You has a lot of great twists in it, and Xenoblade Chronicles also has a lot of great twists in it. I would say overall it's my favorite story that I've ever played in a video game. And I would fully recommend going in as blind as possible because it's really just a better experience when you don't have knowledge about what's about to happen. And there's a lot of moments that I wish I would have caught on camera with my reactions, but unfortunately, I don't have a capture card. Subscribe so I can get a capture card, please. Finally, I want to talk about the combat. The combat in the game is worse than Xenoblade 2's. Xenoblade 2's combat is just really simple. It's just 3 buttons, but in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, you play as Shulk for probably most of the game, and sometimes it's just really annoying trying to scroll over the menu to get to the attack you want, especially when you need to use it in a timely manner, and sometimes I found myself scrolling over to it, and then by the time I hit it and the animation came out, my time window for using the move for it to be effective was over, which is really annoying. It's not something that happens often or ruins the experience. It's just worse than the Xenoblade 2's, which just has 3 buttons and you can just use it. And, the World Ends With You just uses 6 buttons that you just press a lot. So those combat systems I do like better than Xenoblade 1, but Xenoblade 1 is still very fun, and I would argue that it goes much deeper than Xenoblade 2's combat. So if you can really master Xenoblade 1's combat, I think it will be a lot of fun playing the game, even if you're just attacking enemies and not really doing much story stuff. So overall, what would I rate this game? I'd rate it about a 5 out of 5. If you want to go see proof that I rated it a 5 out of 5, go look at my backlog that I'll put in the comments. And Roast by Video Game takes in the comments. I need that algorithm. And comments help the algorithm. Please. But overall, I'd say that this game made me more excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I played through both of these games now, and although Xenoblade 2 will always hold a special place in my heart, I still really enjoyed this experience, and I recommend that if you haven't played either of these games, or you just want to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3, play these games! It is a bit of a time sink, and will likely take you around 60 to 70 hours to beat both of them, just doing the story and not even the side quests or anything that can get you off track. But overall, I'd say it is worth it, and you still do have a couple of months until the Xenoblade 3 does come out, so you got plenty of time. But overall, that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers at some point. I was supposed to hit it last year, but YouTube said no. So I'd really appreciate it if I could hit 100 subscribers, and tell me if you like this type of video as well, because I'm trying something new for once. So, thank you all for watching. Obviously, comment, like, and subscribe. And the camera is off, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.